Welcome back everyone to the Norway Chess 2024 round 5 between Pragganandhaa and Fabiano Caruana that you can see. And here comes d4, then comes knight to f6 by American Grandmaster. Here Pragganandhaa begins with c4, playing the Queen's Gambit that you can see. Now comes e6, beginning with Indian game that you can see. Knight comes to f3 by Pragganandhaa. Now the reason can be that he will be playing g3 and can develop the bishop and castle. That can be the reason. Then comes d5 by American Grandmaster that you can see. Now it is controlling the center that you must understand. Also, he is uh, developing the bishop. Actually, he can play bishop over here and can prepare for castling. But let's see what are they planning. Here comes g3 by Pragganandhaa. Obviously, he is going to play bishop to g2 and can castle. Here comes bishop to e7. Okay, so uh, maybe he don't want to play the check because knight can come over here or bishop can come over here and can attack this. So let's see for it does. He is preparing for castling that you must understand. Here comes bishop to g2 and then castling, castling. Now he captures the pawn at c4 and then comes queen to a4 attacking this pawn that you can understand. Here comes a6. Maybe he can push this pawn and can protect this pawn also. Now before he could have played this, Pragganandhaa captures the pawn and then comes b5 as we discussed. He is attacking this, but he forgets that after removing the queen, he can have a threat by playing knight over here, attacking the rook along its non-open diagonal that you can see. Anyways, here comes queen to c2. Okay, so logic is that he's attacking this pawn. Also, he can make the move like bishop over here and can attack this pawn. Here comes bishop to b7. Now, before he could have played this, Fabiano Caruana understood and he played bishop over here. Bishop to f4. As we discussed, he's going to attack the pawn at c7. Knight comes to c6, blocking the way of queen attacking this pawn. Then comes developing another knight, creating a rook connection as so. Then comes knight cross d4, attacking the queen also. And there is a queen as well protecting this knight. Here comes knight cross d4, and then bishop takes the bishop, attacking the rook. Now, Pragganandhaa captures the pawn, creating a fork here that you can see. And of course, uh, Pragnant, Pragnanta is quite sure that he's not going to sacrifice his queen. So maybe for this logic he played this, and now American Grandmaster captures it, and then Pragnanta also captures the bishop. Then comes knight to d5, attacking this bishop. So of course bishop needs to be protected. Here comes bishop to e5, attacking this pawn. And maybe Pragnanta can apply some of his tactics to attack this pawn. Here comes c5. Now comes knight to f3, developing the knight even further. Queen to e8, and then comes rook a to d1. Now comes queen to h5. Queen to e4, rook a to d8. Okay. Now comes a4. If it takes, then that can capture from the queen. Now comes queen to f5, offering a exchange. Here Pragnanta accepts the exchange, and now Pragnanta takes the pawn. He also takes the pawn back, and then comes rook to a1, rook to a8, and then rook f to d1, attacking the knight. Now comes knight to f6, and in this position, Praggnanandhaa begins with b3. Now comes knight to e4, and he wants to make this knight even more active. Here comes Praggnanandhaa played a good move in this position, attacking the bishop, but he also forget about this rook. Actually, the bishop can go back, but we must understand that central bishop is also very powerful, right? And in this position, he have a central bishop, but American Grandmaster can take advantage of it by taking it. Now he will not have a bishop over here, creating all over the control on the open diagonal that you can see. Anyways, in this position, okay, he played bishop to f6, protecting the bishop. Then comes bishop cross f6. So knight takes it, and now it is attacking the rook. Also, it is also attacking the rook. So of course, it is sure that he is going to play rook to d1. Else, he can begin with rook to a7. He plays rook cross a8. Okay, and in this position, he also captures the rook back. Now comes rook over c7, attacking this pawn. Then comes knight to e4, protecting this pawn. So comes knight to e5 that you are watching, and then comes rook over here, attacking this knight. Knight to t3. Now knight to t3 is a reasonable move since it is attacking this pawn. Also, he will begin with f3 in the upcoming move, attacking this knight, and can remove one protector from the way. Here comes knight to t2. So we must understand that if we are going to capture from the rook, then he can capture this pawn. So capturing from the knight is a better idea, but here Praggnanandhaa captured from the rook. And now Fabiano Caruana also captures this. Caruana begins with uh, knight cross b3, and Praggnanandhaa played rook to f5, taking the pawn. And in the next move, he can also capture this pawn. Here comes knight to d4. Okay, he is creating a double attack on this pawn. And in this move, he, uh, Praggnanandhaa plays rook to d5, attacking this knight. Knight takes the pawn, and then comes rook cross b5. And knight goes to c3, attacking the rook. That you must understand. Rook to b7. Maybe for this, he can play knight over here and to here, attacking this pawn. Knight to t5 comes. Now you can understand why he played knight to t5. Since we all discussed about this move, that is, so if play, then he can capture this, creating a double pawn, which is a disadvantage. Anyways, coming back in this position, he played knight to d5. Praggnanandhaa plays rook to d7, attacking this knight. So comes knight to f6, attacking the rook, and then comes rook to a7. King goes to f6. Now comes king to f3. Rook to e7, offering a rook exchange, and of course Praggnanandhaa is going to accept it, and Praggnanandhaa accepts it. Now black takes it. King now knight goes to c5. So in this position, he can begin with playing x6, or he can play knight to g8. Let's see what it does. He can play. He played king to f7. Okay. Now comes king to f4 by Praggnanandhaa. Knight gets a check. Then Praggnanandhaa plays king to e5, attacking the knight. So of course, knight is to be protected, and knight goes back. So comes side move by Praggnanandhaa. And of course, now he can push all these pawns for a better end game. Here comes knight to c6, giving a check. Then comes king to e4, x6, g4, knight to e7, and then comes knight to d3. Now in this position, I want to share you something very special. That in this position, Caruana played with king to f6. in this position we can also play g6 actually, because you can see that he is creating a triple pawn towards the double pawns, which can be a disadvantage. But in this position, uh, black played king to f6, then comes knight to f4. Now comes g5, attacking the knight, so it has to be captured, and he captures with the king. Then comes f3 in this position, protecting this pawn. Then comes knight to c6, and then comes knight to e6, giving a check. So comes king to f6, knight goes back, offering a knight exchange, and now in this position you can see that he began with king to f4. But Nanta plays the king to f4. Now what you can understand by this move? King to f4. So I have made a video on opposition also, and you may know that he played king over here since he want to create an opposition, and he can use this knight for attacking this pawn. He can push this pawn forward, but again Caruana understands the planning and he plays knight to d3, giving a check. So king goes to e3, and then comes knight to e5. King goes back. Once again there's a check. King goes to g3 this time. Now you can understand that in this position, what Caruana wants is a draw, because he is repeating this move. I will show you once again. One move, and once again he is repeating this move. And if Pragganandhaa would have played this, then it would be a draw. But in this position, he begins with king to g3. A very nice move, since he has two pawns and he can push these pawns forward towards the enemy king and can promote to queen, which is a good advantage. Here comes knight to e1. Now comes f4. Of course, he is pushing the pawn forward. Then comes knight to d3. Now comes knight to f3. Knight to b4. Now he is taking off this knight because he cannot make move like pushing this pawn, as he cannot give up his pawn. So what he can do except for making knight move. Here comes knight to d2. Then comes knight to d5. Now comes knight to e4, giving a check where king goes to e6. Then comes king to f3. Now in this position, if many of you are going to think for king to x4, if we play king to x4, then actually he can capture this pawn, and we will have no way for this square, since that square is already being controlled. So you must understand the logic, and we play king to f3, which is a best move. Then comes knight to e7. So comes knight to g3. Knight comes to king goes to d5, and then comes king to e3. Now comes king back, and he plays king to d4, controlling the squares. And now you can understand all the king squares are controlled. Now king cannot come to any of the front tiers, and king goes to f6. Okay, here comes king to e4. Once again, there is no way for the king to come towards the front. He played king to e6, creating an opposition. Then comes knight to e2, and you can understand why he played knight to e2. He want to give a check once again, and once again he will be playing knight over here, offering a knight exchange. Because he have two pawns, and it is very easy for Pragganandhaa to win this game. Here comes knight to g8, then comes knight to d4 check, as we discussed, and now Fabiano Caruana did a blunder, and that is king to f6. Actually, in this position, what he can do is playing king to f7, playing king back. Now, here he played king to f6, then comes knight to f5. Now comes king to e6. Now, the logic of playing this move, once again, he can begin with giving check. But in this position, he played king to d4, controlling almost the squares. So, first of all, you can understand that this king is helpless, and this king cannot attack these two pawns. King goes to f6, and then comes knight cross x6. Now, why he gave up this pawn? I mean, why he gave up his knight? Try to understand the logic. So the logic is that if black captures, then there is a check over there, and then he wins it, and at last he can win the game using opposition, right? In this position, he plays knight to e7, and of course, Fabiano Caruana is enough smart to realize this. Then comes king to e4, and then comes king to g6, attacking the knight. So comes g5, protecting the knight. Then comes king to x5, and then king knight to f7. Knight goes to g6, blocking the way of this pawn to be pushed. Then comes king to f5, knight to e7, giving a check. King to e6, attacking the knight. Then come knight to c6, f5, and now he is going to push these pawns forward. And this game is very easy for Pragganandhaa to win. Knight goes to d4, giving a check. Now Fabiano is Fabiano is hoping that he will be playing the king over here, or here, so that he can capture the free pawn. But he is unlucky because Pragganandhaa plays king to f6, and then comes king to g4, and now knight to d6. Now, okay, now we must understand this. Once again, I'm pretty sure many of you are going to say that we must push the pawn, right? But if we push the pawn, then once again he is going to lose the pawn. And once again, there is no kind of pawn pushing. And you must understand the logic. And here Pragganandhaa plays knight over d6, protecting the pawn. Then Fabiano Caruana, the American Grandmaster, resigns the game. Now you can understand why he resigned, because he can promote the queen and then he can checkmate very easily.